Hello, Litter Robot Nation. Today I'm going to show you how to fully disassemble your Litter Robot 4 for deep cleaning. And these are the tools that I'm going to use. So you're going to want to use the vacuum, some dish soap that's in that blue cup with your sponge or whatever cleaning tool that you like. I like to use the drill versus the screwdrivers, but you can use whatever you want. It just goes a lot faster. Gloves, obviously. I have this magnetic pan, and of course you're going to want a drying towel and probably replace your filter. So let's get into it. You could probably do this in your bathroom if you don't have a yard, but I like doing it in the yard just because I have more room and I don't have to worry about where the dirty water goes. But this is the bonnet. I'm going to take off most all of the screws on the litter robot itself, but you don't have to take off all the screws, such as on the bonnet, there's screws on the side. You don't have to take those off. We're just dealing with the globe. As you can see, my litter robot really needs to be cleaned, so this is a good time to teach you guys how to do this. Also, apologies for any air conditioner noise. I live in a neighborhood, so I don't have a microphone or anything fancy, so hopefully you can hear it. And if you have any questions, just leave them down below. One thing I do want to note is when you empty the litter robot, I personally like to index it back to the beginning. You don't have to do that, but if you don't, then you won't have the handle on top, that black handle right there. So go ahead and once you empty it, just index it back to the normal starting position. And I also like to do that because then I don't have to guess where the motor is going to be when I turn it back on, because it's already at the starting point. Once you take the globe off, you can see there's going to be a lot of debris in there. You can take the drawer out. I haven't done that yet, but you're going to want to get your handheld vacuum or whatever vacuum you have, as long as it can get down in the crevices and stuff. You can also turn this over and dump it out, just tap it out if you want. Just be really careful right here. This is the motor that the cog that turns the globe, so just be careful with that, and don't judge my my strips. This is a kind of old LR4. I've had it for a long time, so don't come for me, please. Okay, this is the part that a lot of people were having questions about. Again, you can use a cordless drill, or you can use a Phillips head screwdriver or plus screwdriver, whatever you call it. This is pretty handy. It's magnetic, and basically it holds all of the screws for me. And don't worry about what screws go in what holes, because they're all the same. So you can start wherever you want. It doesn't matter. And you're just going to take all the screws out. Make sure that you get the right bit for the screw so you don't strip it out. Once you start getting all your screws out, there's going to be some things that might fall down, like your screen here. That's okay. Also, your globe is going to start coming apart in two pieces. That is also totally fine, but make sure that you get this black ring off. There's some screws. I've started to take some out right here. There's one right there too, but just be careful when you are taking apart your ring. If I'm focusing, there is a screw back there, so take your ring off, make sure you get all your screws out. No probs. It's easy. Alright, so now we've got three pieces of the inner globe. So we've got this one. We took the handle off. You don't necessarily have to take the handle off. I just do it because I like accounting for all the screws. which there's 24 in my little magnetic thing. It's getting ready to rain, so we might have to finish this tomorrow. But anyway, so then you've got your strainer, and this part might be the part that everyone thinks is tricky, but it's really not that bad. I have a flathead screwdriver. I like to use this to separate the inner part with the outer part. So this part just comes off. It has like a lip, has a lip right here, and then this just kind of sits on top of it, which when we start putting it back together, I'll show you. But this part has two tangs. There's two tangs that sit inside where the cats go to the bathroom. And this little piece right here, just be careful not to pull up on the inner part because you could possibly rip it. It's been a while since I've done this, but as long as you're not like ripping, tearing into it, you're not going to hurt anything. So you can see I kind of got that underneath that piece right there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go inside pretty soon, but you just take your flathead real quick and you kind of pry underneath this firmer plastic in order to get out the liner. So I can't really do it with one hand, but I'm going to kind of pry underneath this. I think I got too big of a flathead, so I'm going to try to get a different flathead, but this little retainer piece right here is what's holding this on. So all you have to do is just kind of wedge it under there, lift it up, and then as you can see down here, it can come off, and then the liner is going to come out. And then, yep, that whole piece is going to come off. So once you get like one of them, the other one or two will be easy to come off. Yeah, don't mind that red paint. That's from when my husband was spray painting. There. So we are in business. Now this part is going to get washed in my bucket of soapy water. Oh yeah, and by the way, I didn't know this until today, but the grate on the step can come off. You just pop it off. So yeah, now I'm gonna wash in there too. Time to wash if I don't get rained on. All right, these are all the parts that can get wet. There's no problem with them getting wet as long as you make sure they are thoroughly dry when you're done. I've got my liner in there, getting ready to get all the litter off. And over here, we have the globe in two pieces. I do not do anything except for a damp cloth on the actual motor section. I don't take any of that apart. The globe lid is over here, sorry, the bonnet. Again, if you need to get any litter out of here, you can just spot clean. I am not a litter robot representative, so your mileage may vary. Just make sure that you don't get any of the electronics wet, whether it be in the top, where the lights are, where the sensors are. Just use a very damp cloth and go at your own risk. But anything else, like over here, you can get those wet. Just make sure that it's thoroughly dry again before you put it back together. And I always like to put a new filter. You don't have to, you can wash it. Again, I'm not a representative, so I'm not the end-all be-all, but you can figure out what works for you. One thing I forgot to mention, I'm getting ready to rinse off the liner. This will be a good time for you to check for any rips or anything. Maybe your pet has clawed it a little bit too many times, but this metal thing in here, this is the weight, and it's just held on by these whatever these little detent things are. This can get wet, it's fine, and I feel like all this rust stuff, it's gonna get there no matter what, because even if you don't get this wet, just because There's moisture that gets in here from your pets, but this is just a little weight, like a 2-pound weight, and it's held in there by this little detent thing. So make sure that when you put this back in, that this goes in first. You want to put it in this way, get it all the way in there. I only have one hand, so and then line those up back in those holes, and that way it can stay in. This thing doesn't matter which way it goes, but you do want this little small ring in there, that way it gets held in, because if you put it in like that, it's most likely not going to hold for too long, and then your waste is going to stick because it's not going to fall down with this weight pushing it down. Make sure if you're doing this outside that you don't get any grass or any other contaminants in your litter robot pieces. Just make sure everything's clean and doesn't have anything that's not supposed to be on it. All right, apologies, we're in the garage because we're having another storm roll through today. So everything's dry now, and I'm going to show you how to put it back together. So don't forget the back of your liner, you're going to want to put your weight back in there. Make sure that that part that has the raised lip goes in. You're seeing that raised lip. It's okay if it's rusty. Again, there's just some moisture and waste that are going to happen, and that's going to occur, but it doesn't hurt anything. All right, so make sure that you get all of your little teeth through there and it's covered up. Make sure those teeth are coming through, these teeth down here. And now you're gonna put your globe back together. All right, there's not really a way to mess up which side the liner goes back in, because if you remember yesterday, we took the edge of the liner off here. There's a plastic piece that goes over this, and you can't really put it on the other side of the globe because there's a hole for the waste to go through. So just remember that it only goes on one side, and that's the beauty of these litter robots, is that they pretty much designed it to where you can't mess anything up. All of the screws are the same size, and if you see a hole, that's where a screw goes. So we're just gonna take our time with this and kind of just lay it on here. It's kind of wily, so it might come off a couple times, but that's okay. You just got to work with it. And now you're going to take this piece right here, remember this piece that we took off, and make sure that these two tabs right here, 1, 2, those go on the inside of this liner. Okay, that's what keeps it from falling off. And you can line it up here with your tabs. If you get one in, the other ones will pretty much lock into place as well. But if you have to play with it for a little bit, that's fine too. Make sure that your liner stays, your liner lip stays on here when you're putting this on. Otherwise, it could come off when your litter robot cycles, and you don't want that. Okay, so your liner's back on. You can push it down. There's a spot right here that goes over the back. Put those on, and you can see that it kind of lines up here where these holes are for the screws. There's like a cutout, so go ahead and put those on, because when you put the other half of the globe together, you're going to want these seated in here so that it doesn't open up when it's cycling. Here's your liner. It has been tucked into the edges all the way around. Make sure that you're not covering any of those screw holes on the edge. And now we will put the top on. And then we can start assembling it, put the screws in, and get it back together so that the cats can use it. And don't worry, I have 2 of these, so it's not like they were without a litter box all night while it was being cleaned and rained on and everything like that. So let's put all these screws back in on this line that goes all the way around. We have put back on all of the outside screws, and I also put the handle back on. Just be careful. Sometimes the liner can get bunched up. You can see there's nothing coming from the inside, no folds. And let's see if I can show you. Yeah, just make sure that you don't have any folds from that lip that goes in between these 2 pieces. And then we can start putting back in the screen, and we're almost done. But what I was meaning to say is just be really careful, especially if you're going to use a cordless drill. Turn your power down on the drill, that way you don't strip the screws. I've done that on a couple of mine, but it's not a huge deal. Just turn your power down and do the best you can, I guess, if you're going to use that thing. So yeah, we're just going to fold this in. Up here, this one I feel like is the hardest part because it does have some screws that it's kind of hard to make sure that they grip and they get seated, so just do your best. But there's really no way to mess this up as long as you have a screw in all the holes. I feel like this hole in particular is kind of difficult because you're trying to catch the post that's on this hard plastic piece. So let's put this on. So I've gotten all of my screws in here. This one is stripped, so I just try to get it in there as best as I can. It might come out, but that's okay. All right, so now we're at the point where we're gonna put on our gear, and if you will notice, there is a notch right here. So that notch is gonna line up with this notch on the litter robot. So there's no way to put this on wrong. And make sure, because you do have a couple screw holes here in your process of putting your screws and everything back on. Don't put those on yet because that's how this is going to attach. There's some screw holes that you're going to have to attach this to. So you can see right there. It's bad lighting, sorry. But you can't put this on unless this is lined up. So don't worry about doing that wrong. All right, my gear is back on. Everything's secure. I looked back in my pan, my little magnetic pan, and I said, oh, I have a screw left over. But you know what? No big deal. All you got to do is look back over, see if you've got one that you didn't put a screw in, and mine's right here. So again, there's pretty much no way to mess this up, and I'm hoping I'm giving you guys some confidence because it's really not too terribly hard to take this apart and put it back together, and you want to make sure that you don't lose your screws and you don't get water on the main, this guy back here, the hub. So all my screws are in now. Just did a quick check, make sure again that your 2 tabs down here at the bottom are inside. I know this is really bad lighting, I'm sorry. But now I am ready to put this back onto the litter robot base. And I try to make sure that the handle is kind of lined up, and also the litter level down in here, make sure that that's level, because if it's kind of crooked, you know, the level line, you don't want that. You want to try to get it back to the original position that you left it in. So remember, if you emptied it and you didn't return it to home, you're going to have to remember where this was sitting when you took it out. But I believe that's why they have, they make it easy with this handle to, once you empty it, return it back to the original position. That way when you take it out, you know exactly where it's going to be. But if you didn't do that, it's not the end of the world. It just might be like a strain on the motor. I don't suggest that. And I'm sure maybe Litter Robot wouldn't suggest that. I found them pretty helpful when I needed to call them for, or email them for various things. So also don't forget your plug back here, and don't forget your filter. Goodness. Okay, so put those back on and we'll get it back in, and we'll get it back together and start it up. I hope this helped, and if you have any questions, just throw me a comment. All right.